If you could go back in time and sit down with young Daniel, and I could sit with young Ken, and oh boy, would I like to be able to do that. If we could do that, what advice would we give ourselves?
I don't know. Probably not anything different, because I think everything happens for a purpose, and it would just be where you are. I would probably encourage myself to be a little bit more relational and seek out friendships over trophies. But that's me. That's not everybody. But you gotta realize that the story that's being written is not your story. You're not in control of it. You're just in the story. And so it's like watching the middle part of a movie and going, what would I go back to the first part of the movie and tell this actor what they should have done in the first scene? Well, nothing, because the first scene sets up the second scene, and that builds to the climax and what's going to get resolved if we don't have all those sequences of things happening. So, sometimes we have this shame, or I should have done it different, I could have done it different. Be where you are in the story, and be about the business of redeeming your story every day with the things that you're learning.
This is one of my favorite questions to answer, because it's so visceral for me, because it's just learning. And I wish that I could have sat down with the 22-year-old Ken and said, now look, perseverance is what gets the glory, but nobody talks about the patience.
Yeah, that's good.
And I'm going to tell you, we just do this. Like we glorify stories of perseverance, and yet we gloss over the parts of the story of perseverance that are just nothing but patience, where it looks as though nothing is happening, and quite frankly, no progress is being made. And yet that person, that man or woman who we are glorifying for their stick-to-itiveness, their grit, their perseverance, all they did for maybe good portions of their life, they just stayed the course. They were patient. They kept chopping wood. They were the 10-year overnight success.
Yes.
And I got to tell you, that would be my advice to all of you, whether you're 23, 33, or 43, but certainly if you're in your 20s and 30s. Let me just tell you, as a 44-year-old, I have finally figured that out, that it is my patience that is just as important as my perseverance. Perseverance without patience is going to lead to burnout and frustration and bitterness. Perseverance bathed in patience
that's good.
leads to a journey that is just as fulfilling as the destination.
That's right. So I got to ask you this.
It took me a while to figure that out.
The advice is sound. Here's my question. Would 22-year-old Ken have listened to 44-year-old Ken?
He would have listened, but I don't know that he would have figured it out.
Right.
Because, and I like the
because
spirit of
I
that
wouldn't
question.
have if I was that,
I would have listened. Yeah. I've always been the guy who was a sponge. But I think you make a good point. There's a certain amount of that you can listen, and you can hear and you can listen, but it takes a little bit of time in life around the bend a few times to go.
A few more gray hairs.
Oh, that guy Daniel or that old Ken guy was right.
Knew what he was talking about.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think we need to hear it.
You have to experience it.
But you do have to experience it and go, because I think we hear that and we go, well, that may be true for most people, but I'm going to game the system.
Yeah, well, you can't microwave success, I mean, we live in an on-demand culture. No one has to go to Blockbuster anymore to rent a movie. No one has to wait in line for anything. The food gets delivered to you if you have the right app. And this is just one area where you can, you can fast forward intentionality, but you can't fast forward experience. So be okay with that and enjoy the season you're in.
Yes, absolutely.